story of Latrell Mitchell's family connection with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Mitchell's future beyond his current contract with the Roosters, which finishes at the end of 2020, has been a major talking point this year. And Paul Crawley, you've got a little more detail on the story.
Dug around last week in regards to this story. It was interesting to hear Trent Robinson after the game on Saturday night, and he was asked, you know, how do you handle this, the talk that other clubs will come looking at Latrell, and Robbo basically fobbed it off as, I give it no oxygen. Of course other clubs are going to go look at him. Let me tell you, the Roosters are worried about this. Privately, they are worried about the talk about South Sydney. They are worried about the change in management for Latrell. Like, there's a deeper story there. Latrell had a long-time manager, Steve Deacon, who initially they had a wonderful rapport between the two. Things were going swell. There was what I would call an incidental difference between the two, but it's now developed into a real bitter divide.
Yeah.
The Rugby League Players Association, their lawyer has been called in to help Latrell. They're dealing with the agent accreditation scheme. Paul Massey, the boss there. The Roosters are privately looking on and thinking, we need this to settle. But beyond, I think they're talking about Matt Rose has a close relationship with Latrell and he wants to take over his management. But all the other managers are out there and they can smell the blood and they're coming looking for him.
They can smell the money.
And what is also interesting is that the clubs can also see opportunity here with all this going on, and they're also circling because, as it stands, Latrell is contracted until the end of 2020, but rival clubs can already start negotiating with him for 2021. So they can't talk about 2020 with him, but they can actually make offers.
So clubs can be making offers now. It doesn't start at November 1.
100%. And look, I was of the opinion that was the wrong thing too, but it's categorical. They can start talking to Latrell, not about 2020, for 2021. They can make offers, but a deal can't be made until November 1.
So the final year of his current contract with the Roosters,
correct,
which is November 1 later this year, is when he can sign the contract, but they can begin negotiating now.
Yes, and so he goes out on the weekend and he produces that performance that was just out of this world. And look, you think, wow, it's not upsetting him at all, but it is behind the scenes. I reckon he's gone through some difficult times and he's struggling to deal with it.
The Roosters are concerned with the advice he's getting in that circle that's immediately around him. And they're concerned that that's where they could lose him because there's a definite preference there for South Sydney, they believe. So I don't know where it ends up. I think it's always very sad when young players, particularly sought-after players, are at a point in the game where, I don't want to say the Wolves because there are people there who generally have his interest at heart, but when he's getting conflicting messages and conflicting interests coming at him, it can be very confusing for a young man.
For him also too, like he's at a stage where he's 21 years of age. He's, look, without question going to be one of the greats of the game if he stays on track. He's playing for a powerful club that get it so right off the field as well as on it.
Yeah.
And you'd have to wonder, is it worth going to one of the weaker clubs and maybe getting potentially a couple of $100,000 a year more, or staying where he is, playing for a strong club forever, and he makes of it what he will?